Hello class, today we're going to talk about lesson 7.1, ratios and proportions. Our objectives are, I can find equivalent ratios to create proportions. Our first vocab alert, ratio, it's a comparison of two quantities by division, and then equivalent ratios, which are just ratios that make the same comparison. So we have two different ratios. Right now we're just looking at A, which is 6/8. We need to find two ratios that are equivalent to 6/8. So one way we can do that is by looking at 6 and 8 and asking ourselves, what number goes into both 6 and 8? Well, 2 does. So let's divide both the 6 and the 8 by 2. If we do that, one of our equivalent ratios will be 3/4. So we found one equivalent ratio, now we need to find another one. Since there isn't a number that goes into 3 and 4, let's go back to 6/8. And let's think of the smallest number that's not 1 and not 0 that we can multiply 6 and 8 by. I say let's do 2. You can use any number you want, but 2 is easy. 6 times 2 is 12. 8 times 2 is 16. So 12/16 is another equivalent ratio. Let's try that one more time. So this time we have the ratio 48/27. So let's start by rewriting 48/27. And let's ask ourselves, what number goes into both 48 and 27? Well, I think 3 does. So let's divide both the numerator, the 48, and the denominator, 27, by 3. So 48 divided by 3 is 16, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. So there's one of our equivalent ratios. Now I don't think there's a number that goes into both 16 and 9. So we're going to rewrite 48/27, and we're going to multiply. Well, the smallest number, the easiest number to multiply by, is 2. So let's multiply both numbers by 2. 48 times 2 is 96. 27 times 2 is 54. So our two equivalent ratios are 16/9 and 96/54. So now our second vocabulary alert. Proportion, which is just the result of two equivalent ratios. It's time for our second vocabulary alert, which is proportion, which is just the result of two equivalent ratios. So if we have two equivalent ratios, they're identical when they're written in their simplest form. So we need to simplify our ratios to decide if they are proportional. So we need to simplify 7/21 and 2/6 to determine if they are in proportion. So let's rewrite both of these fractions, both ratios, 7/21 and 2/6. So let's first deal with 7/21. Is there a number that goes into both 7 and 21? There is, and that number is 7. So let's divide both 7 and 21 by 7. In simplest form, 7/21 is just 1/3. Now let's take care of 2/6. Is there a number that goes into both 2 and 6? Yes, 2 does. So we're going to divide both of those by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Since 1/3 equals 1/3, the ratios are in proportion. Let's look at that one more time. So we have 9/12 and 16/24. Let's start by rewriting both of our ratios. Well, what's a number that goes into both 9 and 12? think 3 does. So let's divide 9 and 12 by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Alright, we've got 3/4. Now let's think, what's the biggest number that goes into 16 and into 24? I know 2 goes into 16 and 24, but is there a bigger number? I also know that 4 goes into 16 and 24, but again, is there an even bigger number? I believe 8. 8 goes into both 16 and 24, and that's the biggest number that goes into both. So 16 divided by 8 is 2, and 24 divided by 8 is 3. 3/4 does not equal 2/3. So the ratios are not in proportion. Alright, we can move on to our last example. So we have an earth science application. At 4 degrees Celsius, 2 cubic feet of silver has the same mass as 21 cubic feet of water. The question is, at 4 degrees Celsius, would 126 feet of water have the same mass as 6 cubic feet of silver? Well, let's find out. Since both parts deal with at 4 degrees Celsius, we know that 2 cubic feet of silver over 21 cubic feet of water is going to work. But what we need to find out is that will that be in proportion with 6 cubic feet of silver to 126 cubic feet of water? So one way we can do that is we can simplify both ratios. And 2 over 21 is already simplified. So let's simplify 6 over 126. I know that 2 goes into 6 and 126, but is there a bigger number? In fact, I think 6 goes into both 6 and 126. So if we divide both 6 and 126 by 6, is 2 over 21 equal to 6 divided by 6 is 1. 126 divided by 6 is 21. Is 2 over 21 equal to 1 over 21? No. 2 over 21 does not equal 1 over 21. So since they are not equal, that means 126 cubic feet of water would not have the same mass at 4 degrees Celsius as 6 cubic feet of silver. This wraps up our lesson on 7.1, Ratios and Proportions. So for tomorrow, I would like you to do the Your Turn problems in your guided notes, and I will see you tomorrow.